All right, what's up, everybody? I'm Shane from Ferocious Fatherhood, here kicking off our 30 for 30 campaign. Excited about the podcast that's starting up in a couple of weeks. In order for this 30-30 campaign to work, we're looking to interview men just like you. Right now, we got my brother Luke Ross on the line. Dad's Digging Deeper. Luke,
Hey,
welcome to the
everybody.
show, brother.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much. I appreciate you having me, and I've been very excited for this.
Yeah, man, I'm super excited to have you on here. I'll checking out your Instagram page. Super excited. I like I like the stuff I see on there, man. So excited to get together with like-minded people.
Yes, yeah, thank you.
Cool. So go ahead, introduce yourself. Talk a little bit about Dad's Digging Deeper, and then I also saw on your page about the Phoenix Children's Foundation. And go ahead and talk about that a little bit, and we'll get going, man.
Okay, yeah. My name is Luke Ross. I'm 25 years old as of a few days ago, actually. I'm a dad, a husband. My son, he's 1 year old, and he was actually born 2 months premature. So I'm a
Oh, wow.
preemie dad. Um, I'm married to my beautiful wife, Mildred, who's listening in right now. I was a Marine. I enlisted in the Marine Corps when I was 17 years old. I got out when I was 21. I was a 0352 anti-tank missileman, stationed in 29 Palms with 1st Tank Battalion, which was a very good experience. But let's see. Currently, I work as a land surveyor here in Phoenix, Arizona. And it's kind of like just a job I'm doing while I'm in college. I go to Liberty University and I'm majoring in digital marketing and advertising. And I only have a year left. So hopefully after I'm done, I, get into my career and really, start becoming the man I want to be, I guess. But that's pretty much it about me. The foundation I'm, advertising to, for people to donate to is the Phoenix Children's Foundation. And I'm just going to pull up their page because I want to get it right. But basically, the Phoenix Children's Hospital is here in Arizona, in downtown Phoenix. And I actually did security work for them when I first got out of the Marine Corps, which was pretty fun and a good experience to be around the kids. And, I got to serve a good purpose. But anyways, it's basically just a foundation for the hospital itself, because every kid, every family that goes to Phoenix Children's Hospital is accepted, regardless if they have insurance or not. And I think that's just so amazing, especially for the lower income families in downtown Phoenix and in surrounding areas. So if you guys could donate, you could see the link on my page on Instagram and on live right now. So that's pretty much it.
That's awesome, man. First, thanks for your service. I know it's not always easy being in the military, so I want to say thank you for that.
Oh, thank you for yours as well.
Oh, absolutely, man. I love the fact that we can get together like this, like-minded military men get together and just talk openly, vulnerably about different things like this.
Oh yeah,
that's awesome with the Phoenix Children's Foundation. That's awesome. Definitely going to have to. I'm not too technology savvy, but we'll definitely figure out a way to get that linked right onto our podcast when we get this video up on YouTube.
Oh yeah, that'd be great. And you know
Yeah,
what? Before we go on, I completely forgot to mention Dad's Digging Deeper. So Dad's Digging Deeper is a website founded by me for all things fatherhood and parenting. It started out as something I kind of just wanted for my resume because I am majoring in digital marketing. But then once I started writing and I became a dad, and it made me realize that there's so much more. And I started writing lots of blog posts about how to become a better dad, how to become a better man. And people started engaging with me and commenting and reading, and it was a good feeling. So I made a website, I made all my little social media platforms and whatnot. And yeah, it's you could go to www.dadsdiggingdeeper.com and yeah, just read what I have on there. I have a bunch of stuff, and I try to focus on the importance of physical health, mental health, and the overall goals of being a father, which I believe are protecting and providing for your family. So I really try to emphasize those two things. But yeah, Dad's Digging Deeper.
Yeah, man, that's so cool. I was talking with someone earlier. Man, there's not a lot of information on fathers and new fathers' mental health, and
Yeah.
it's so cool that you're out there like putting that stuff out. Especially you said you had a preemie child. I'm sure that was just a whole
Oh
new thing
gosh.
in and of itself, man.
Yeah, yeah.
Man, so we'll definitely get into that in a little bit. 'Cause I'm sure that was a huge challenge for you.
Okay, yeah.
But kind of walk me through kind of your background as a kind of when you were your childhood. Like, was your father in the picture? You said you currently have one child.
Yeah, yeah, just the
Yes.
one.
Kind of give me like your background, kind of growing up, and
So yeah, I grew up as an army brat, actually. My dad was a career army officer. He served 24 years. So I moved around a lot as a kid. I was born in Virginia. We lived in New York, Texas, California, and we even lived in Italy for a little.
oh yeah, you've
And
been all over.
yeah, which was a good experience, but it had its bad parts too. But yeah, my dad is now one of my biggest role models and one of the most important men in my life. But growing up, I didn't realize that, I was a bad kid, just like a lot of people probably listening right now and will listen to
Oh yeah.
this. They have, those kids who just don't seem to, what's the word I'm looking for, to understand like their intentions as parents, as dads.
Mhm.
And I was one of those kids. Yeah, when I was 16, I dropped out of high school actually for a
Oh
little.
wow.
Yeah, I lost a close friend of mine and I kind of went off the deep end and I started, just doing the whole teenage rebellion thing. I started,
Yeah.
staying out past curfew and drinking and just doing bad things that, would affect my future. And the whole time during that period of my life, my dad was trying to push me in the right direction.
Mhm.
And I only realized this in hindsight. And it really, kind of makes me emotional because he tried so hard to do his best as a father. And I just didn't respect him. And I just kept pushing back as a kid. And I really, that's one of my biggest regrets. I actually wrote an article about that. But yeah, shortly after I dropped out of high school, I got back in. My dad, for my 16th birthday, he enrolled me in online courses. And shortly after that, I turned my life around kind of with the support of him and my mom. And I decided to enlist in the United States Marine Corps. He was in the Army, but I wanted to be a Marine because I
Mhm.
guess that a little bit of that teenage angst was still there.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
anyways, yeah, I was a chubby kid. I'm still like a chubby dad bod type of guy. But I had to lose a lot of weight. I had to lose 60 pounds because I was pretty overweight, and the Marine Corps
Mhm.
has kind of strict height and weight
Yeah, they
requirements.
really do.
Yeah. So basically, one of the things that my dad taught me that's going to stick with me for the rest of my life is setting yourself goals and tasks for yourself to do through self-discipline. And he he really tried to nail those in my head. And he woke up with me every morning. We went on runs together as I was trying to lose weight. He would wake up and make healthy breakfast, and I ended up losing 60 pounds in like 3 months, dude.
Wow.
Yeah, so I
Wow.
was
Good for
working out.
you.
Thank you, thank you. And I was working out like crazy, lifting weights, running, and I wanted to, be completely ready by the time I was 17 so I can enlist on my birthday.
Mhm.
And I did just that. So yeah, that was probably one of the proudest moments of my life, besides the birth of my son, of course. So yeah, I enlisted in the Marine Corps, and me and my dad got a whole lot closer. And now being 25, I could really say that, my dad was one of my biggest role models. And, I kind of think that's one of the driving forces into me wanting to not only create Dads Digging Deeper, but to be, the best dad that I can be.
Yeah, man, that's so awesome to hear. It's so awesome that your dad, even kind of when you went the direction that you did, that your dad kind of steered you back in. It's like, hey,
Yeah.
just kind of being consistent, kind of being there. So is that kind of like one of the major lessons that you learned? Kind of just, hey, consistency and showing up for your kids is one of the most important things out there.
Exactly. And one of, just like you said, that's one of the most important things, but also just unconditional love, from dads. Your kids aren't always going to be your best friend. They're not always going to have days where they say I love you, and
Yeah.
daddy, you're my superhero. Some days you're going to be worse enemies, but you unconditionally love them no matter what, and always be there for them, because I feel like your kids, your wife, your family should be your number one priority in life as a man, as a dad. And
Mhm.
that's one of the lessons that he taught me.
Yeah, that's so cool. I was talking about that earlier with my dad, and it's like, yeah, there was times when I did the exact same thing. I rebelled as a kid, did my own thing, and just him being consistent, still holding the exact same standard. Hey, this is what's going to happen in this household. This is what's going to happen. I'm going to love you. You're going to make mistakes. We're going to be here. We're going to move on as a family. And looking back,
Yeah,
like what you said earlier, looking back on it now, man, it's such a big. I wish I could have seen it then. I'm
yeah,
sure it would have
yeah,
been, light years ahead of where we are now. But hey, I mean, that's going through that's kids, man. That's exactly what we do.
yeah. No, I know it. Your dad sounds like a great dad, and I just can't emphasize the importance of dads just being there, day by day, no matter what. And I just think that's so important.
Yep, yep. So did you have any other father figures in your life, kind of growing up? Any maybe coaches, or with your dad being in the military, any other military fathers type of deal in your life?
Yeah, so when I was in the Marine Corps, it's probably structured the same way as the Air Force.
Mhm.
In the infantry, you have teams, and those teams make up squads, and those squads make up platoons. So when I first enlisted in the Marine Corps and I went to 1st Tank Battalion, I was put into a team. And basically, my team leader, his name was Corporal Bokniak. I wish, I was still talking to him today. He's probably on Facebook somewhere, but he was from Minnesota, and we would call him Corporal Bach. And he was the VC, or vehicle commander, and I was the dismount. I was like the bottom guy on the totem pole or whatever. And we were the way we were the way we rolled around in was Humvees, and anti-tank missile in my MOS. We would shoot like the Saber system,
Mhm.
and tow missiles and javelins and whatnot. So we would have a a tow system set up on the Humvee with a M240 and whatever. But anyways, yeah. So he was my small unit leader, and he was like literally like a dad to me. I was 17 years old. I just had turned 18 when I went to 1st Tanks, and I needed guidance, because as there's a lot of drinking in the military.
Yeah.
There's a lot of that, brotherhood bonding, masculinity, like testosterone everywhere,
Mhm.
fighting. And I found myself as a young man getting into trouble, finding trouble, almost kind of seeking it, just because I was, just young, dumb, and stupid. And, Corporal Bach, like my dad, he kind of set me in the right direction. And at first I didn't listen to him, again, just like with my dad. So I apologize to him, but, eventually I turned it around, and I wish I could, see him today and thank him for all that he did for me throughout those 4 years.
Man, that's so awesome to be able to join at such a young age and to have that style of mentorship, because it's not always there. I mean,
No,
I see it in the military. People like, hey, this is what
yeah,
you're going to do. I'm not telling you why. We're not going to discuss it. Like, this is what you are going to do. And I don't always agree with it. There's definitely a time and place for it. Um, but man, it's not always the best way to help mentor someone. So that's really awesome that you got to have that.
yeah,
So
it's it was very, impactful to have that in my life at that moment in my life. And, just like you said, in the military, every unit is different. Every MOS is different. Everybody's, set up kind of differently. But as far as the military goes, I really feel like small unit leaders have such a huge impact on their guys and, their ladies within their teams or sections or whatever, because, people are young joining and they really need that guidance. They're out on their own for their first time. And, there's a lot of outside influences, external factors that really try to get at like young folk in the military with all this freedom and time on their hands after work. But yeah,
Yep, I
yeah.
could not agree anymore. So then with the things that your dad and Corporal Bach taught you, did you incorporate any of that into like your core values, kind of in how you father?
Oh, definitely. So I was thinking about this earlier, just about values and morals and my religion and whatnot. I'm Christian. But I really feel like the values that I incorporate in my fathering style are that of unconditional love, like I said, and then the constant strive for growth. And then let's see, I need a third one. Probably, self-discipline.
Mhm.
I would say, those three values go such a long way in parenting. Self-discipline, for yourself and, getting yourself to wake up every morning, go to work, do the things that you got to do to be a successful adult, but, overall be a successful parent, a father, a husband. Unconditional love, just like I said earlier, just always loving no matter what, showing that love to your kids, loving your wife and making sure that your kids, see that, and which is really, going to influence them into adulthood. And then constant strive for growth. That's one of the most important ones, I think, not becoming stagnant. Don't get too comfortable because things are always changing. The company you're working for could, go under tomorrow.
Mhm.
Every day should be an opportunity to be the most productive and be the most efficient that you can be. And honest to God, I believe that you should never stop working towards a new goal, a new task that you set yourself, because that's so important, not only for your kids to see you, that process, but it's just so important as, as a man, as a human, to always be working towards something and not just, waking up in the morning and be like, oh, I have nothing to do today. I'm gonna, play video games and drink beer and then wake up tomorrow and see what there is to do. Like,
Mhm.
I don't know about you, but like I'm the type of person, I write lists and I, make little
Yeah.
squares and, put a check in the box when I'm done with that. And I'm like, okay, what can I do now? My
Mhm.
wife's always getting on me, like you can just relax, you could, sit down and watch TV. And I don't know if it's the Marine Corps or, what my dad taught me growing up and through that whole thing when I was a teenager, but I just can't, I can't sit down and relax for too long. I mean, I can as a, a little less than the average guy, but,
Mhm.
I just think a really good value to instill in your parenting style is that strive for growth, that never stopping kind of mentality.
Yeah, I mean that's such a good point because I'm a firm believer in that same exact thing. If you're not growing, you're dying.
Yeah,
And man,
yeah,
if and the best way to emulate that for your kids is for them to see you grow, for them to see you
exactly,
doing these things where you're
exactly.
stepping outside your comfort zone. I mean, your kid doesn't want to be told what to do. You can't sit down and be like, hey, you know, you need to go to school, you need to learn, you need to continue to grow. They want to see it. So, I mean, that's one of the big things like I do with my sons. I try to get him to see me working out. Like I'll pull
Yes,
him in our
yeah,
gym. Like he'll sit there and he'll play. Sometimes he sits there, plays with his toys. Sometimes they be like, hey, buddy, look, here's a 5 pound weight. Let's do something with it now. I mean, he loves it. But yeah, I
that's
mean, if
great.
you're not growing, you're dying. So I love the fact that you brought that up.
Yeah, and
I
just
mean, it's
that,
so true.
yeah, that whole, the physical aspect of working out, that's such like a good thing for, your kids to see. Because I admit, like my dad on that level, like I never got to see him work out. I know he would always, go work out when I was a kid, but I just didn't see it. And uh-oh.
Looks like we
Oh,
hit it again, huh?
yeah, yeah. There we go. I think it's good.
I'll say, is it not on your end?
I don't think so.
Sam, I have it on my end. Let me see if I can't pause the recording, then we'll come right back, okay?
Okay.
I'll say, I don't think it'll, we can start.
All righty.
Cool, so sorry about that. For those listening, I had a little bit of technical difficulties. All of a sudden, I just started hearing static, so that's the way it goes, right? I mean, we're just talking about
Yeah.
growth, so I had to learn how to handle it kind of on the fly. So
Hey, there we go. There we go.
that's what fatherhood is, man. You got to learn everything on the fly. There's nothing
Yep.
that you
Adapt and overcome.
exactly. Cool. So we were talking about growth and our kids seeing us grow. So you were bringing up a good point. I don't know if you still remember.
Yeah. Yeah, just the whole process of, physical activity and dads, and a lot of dads are out of shape nowadays. That's just, what it comes down to. And not only just dads, but culturally, like, society doesn't value, the physical fitness that, dads used to bring to the table.
Mhm.
And yeah, I just think, every dad should work out, exercise. Not only is it good for, the dad, the mindset, the dad himself, but it's such an important process for kids to see that. Kids are like little sponges between the ages of, from birth to like 11 years old. And they're literally taking in everything they see and hear, not only in their surroundings of the household, but, you know, what's on social media, what they're seeing on TV, but most importantly, it's what they're seeing dad and mom do in the house. So yeah, just like you were saying, it's with your son and showing them like little 5-pound dumbbells. It's such an important thing.
Yeah, it definitely is. Yeah. So earlier you were talking about your son being a preemie. How hard was that? Did he spend time kind of in the NICU? If you don't mind kind of talking about that,
Yeah,
I'm sure there's some other fathers out there who their child's going
yeah,
through the exact same thing. So if you don't mind kind of opening up about
yeah.
that.
So yeah, I follow all the preemie pages on Instagram. Yeah, my little boy, he was born 2 months premature. My wife, excuse me, my wife had she developed eclampsia,
Okay.
which is basically from like an amount of time of having elevated, extremely high blood pressure levels. It's kind of a rare condition that women can develop within the second and third trimester of pregnancy, and basically it makes them be more likely to have seizures, like epileptic symptoms and whatnot. So I was actually out of state working in New Mexico the day it happened. My wife was just going for a normal appointment to, a little checkup for nutrition and check her blood pressure. And yeah, she called me. She said, "Hey, the doctor just said like my blood pressure is abnormal. They said I have protein, an unusual amount of protein in my urine, which I guess is a very common symptom of eclampsia and preeclampsia as well." And the doctor said that we might have to have a C-section a couple weeks earlier than we thought. So he was born on July 30th, and his due date was September 22nd of 2021. Yeah.
Wow.
So that day, a couple hours passed of, doctors talking to her and, giving her pamphlets and plans and a new diet. And then, all of a sudden, a group of 3 doctors come into the room. And this is all while I'm out of state anyways. But they said like, "Hey, it's a little worse than we thought. We're going to have to do an emergency C-section, within the next couple days." And
Wow.
then, yeah. And then not even 30 minutes after that, the same group of doctors come in and say, "Hey, this baby has to come out tonight."
Wow. Holy
Yeah.
crap. Man,
Yeah,
how
so
scary, how terrifying.
gosh, you know what? Like, we were not prepared at all. I
Mhm.
mean, we had 2 months left and we were kind of bargaining on getting a lot of stuff from the baby shower, which never happened, by the way.
Right.
But yeah, we weren't prepared as much as I would like us to be back then. And we just, we weren't in the mindset of having him so early.
Mhm.
But yeah, so I book it back from New Mexico. I get to the hospital and thank God, I made it in time. And it was very traumatic, not only for my wife, but for me and her family as well. So yeah, they did the emergency C-section. He was immediately put in the NICU. He came out at 4 pounds,
Wow.
and yeah, he couldn't breathe
Ooh.
without a ventilator. So he was immediately put on a ventilator, the feeding tubes, just the whole nine. And it was a terrifying experience. And you know, I was kind of in the point of my life where I was just in the cycle of going to work and coming home, going to work, trying to get ready for, the birth of my son. And I wasn't really talking to my parents at the time. I wasn't, talking to my friends. So I kind of didn't have a support system just from me or, for me, I mean. And yeah, so I was kind of in it alone. And that was during the time where COVID was still going on.
Definitely.
Yeah, so nobody was allowed in. It was just me and my wife, two 23 and 24-year-olds kind of on their own. And it was scary. And my son, he was a little fighter. He pulled through and he was in there for about 25 days to a month. And we would go see him every day. Sadly, we had to keep working. I had to keep working. But we would go see him every single day. And luckily the hospital was only 10 minutes away. So that was a good experience. I mean, not a good experience, but it was just lucky.
It was a blessing
But
that was that close.
yes, yeah,
Yeah.
blessing. But I know a lot of dads who have to drive 2 hours to get to the hospital when their kids are in the NICU. And
Mhm.
I can't even imagine because, you want to see your baby, but, human factors are at play too. Like you're tired, you're stressed, and the stress just worsens that tiredness. And it's mentally exhausting. But, the nurses and the staff at the hospital here in Glendale, Arizona, at Abrazo Arrowhead, they were amazing and they were very helpful in just every manner you could, want them to be. So yeah, that was it.
Man, that's really intense. Man, talk about, man, tons of pressure, kind of like what you said, such a young age too. Man,
Yeah,
was that
yeah, it
was that been like the biggest problem that you all faced?
definitely one of the most biggest ones.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and then, I would say him being a preemie, uh, we're always thinking about him developing, along the right milestones. And, since he's a preemie, you're supposed to follow the milestones of his corrected age. So if he was a year old, we would follow the milestones of a 10-month-old baby
Okay.
instead. So now he's a year and 2 months almost, and he's just starting to, stand up on his own. And he's still struggling to talk a little, but, I feel like he's on the right track. And it's just something we're always it's in the back of our mind always.
Mhm. Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, it's definitely one of the biggest problems that I've faced as a father so far. And I know it's not going to be the only problem I face throughout the next,
Yeah.
18 years.
Mhm.
But another one that I would say I've really noticed in this last year is the work-life balance of trying to find that perfect balance of providing for your family and then being there for your family. And I feel like a lot of dads have that problem of just, finding the balance of being a good employee, a good provider for your family versus, always being there, making it to, every soccer game, every anniversary. And it's a really hard balance to find. And that's one of the things I've been struggling like with recently, like with my job. I have to go out of state a lot on little, 2, 3, 4 day trips. And it gets tiring, and I'm in, constant worry, about my wife and my son being alone, without me in the house. And, it comes down to me, should I, stay where I'm at, or should I, keep doing what I'm doing and just adjust the work-life balance that I have, down the road when I'm in a more secure place too, you know what I mean?
I do, and that's such a fine line to walk, especially for the military folks. You
Oh
don't
yeah,
always
yeah,
get to go home at a certain time. You spend months away. It happens. That's a part of life. Man, that's such a hard balance to find. It's so hard when
yeah.
the officer in charge of you comes down and says, "Hey, look, you're staying in until this time." So I kind of just had this the other day. So my daughter was actually born July 31st of this year,
Oh
so a
wow,
little over a month ago. And
wow.
I was about a week into dad leave, and so we get 6 weeks now, and I was about a week into it, and my officer called and said, "Hey, we just had a mishap on base. I need you to come in. I need you to handle some things because you're the only one who's trained, signed off to do it." Man, I mean, that was tough. That was tough to be like, you know, here I am a week into, having a newborn and another son. Like I have my 4-year-old and a newborn, and okay, honey, here you go. It's all on you. I'll be back when I'm back.
Yeah.
Luckily we were gone for I don't know, 3-4 hours, so it wasn't anything. Dinner, and my wife did a fantastic job. But yeah, man, that's that work-life balance. That's such a hard line to walk. That's so tough.
Oh yeah. And you know what? I can't even imagine. Like I really honestly applaud you for being in the Air Force, because I know what it's like to be in the military. Like I can't even imagine what it's like to be in the military as a dad. Like I was lucky enough to be a kid, no responsibilities, no
Yeah,
people relying on me. I can't imagine what you have to go through. There's always that chance of deployment. There's always that chance that you just don't know when you're going to be back home. You might have to go to the field for 3 weeks without notice. And
yeah,
I just can't imagine the stress and the constant state of like worry that not only you but your wife is in, and your family. And I've like that's such a great trait to have. Like, what am I trying to say? Like, I feel like after you get out, it's going to be a very good experience to have had.
yeah.
And it's going to teach you a lot in the end. But until then, it's just something that it's going to be a struggle, I guess.
hmm Yeah,
Yeah.
and man, I mean, you're exactly right there. I mean, there's times when had deployments coming up. I mean, I was deployed, so I missed my son's first birthday because I was deployed.
Oh
And
geez.
I mean, it's tough. It's tough, and at the end of the day, like, man, you make up for it when you can. You come back, you have a party a couple months later. He's young enough; he doesn't really know. He just knows, oh, we're here, we're having fun.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
man, that balance. So that's actually like a perfect kind of a segue into our next question. So, what do you think is the best way that you stay actively engaged with your children?
Um, being that I'm a dad of only a 1-year-old, I don't have much experience in toddlers and like teenagers and whatnot. But throughout the last year, I've noticed that you really have to take time, set aside time to engage with and play with your kids. And that's kind of what I've been doing, because if you instill those values that we were talking about of self-discipline and constant strive for growth, you're going to always be busy. You're always going to
Yeah,
be working towards that next goal, that next task. You really have to remember what your number one priority is, why you're doing, like, going after those goals. So for me, I found, to stay actively engaged with my son, to set aside, an amount of time after work. And I get in his little playpen and I roll around with him, and
yeah,
we watch movies. And I just feel like that's a great way to do it. is to really dedicate an amount of time without distractions, without your phone, and just get in there and play and make memories. I read a headline of an article recently. I think it said something like, it only takes 9 minutes of playing with your kid like actively to really have a effect on them. I forget the article, but it only takes, you don't have to spend all day with your kids. I know that sounds kind of bad. Like, you obviously, like, if you could spend all day, you would, but that's just not realistic.
Yeah,
But
but on the other side, I mean, that's so cool that if I am being pulled for work and have to leave, it's such a you can be such a big influence in such a little amount of time. That's so
oh yeah,
awesome. I mean, it's
yeah,
yeah. I mean, I agree with you spot on with that. Like, I mean, being just doing things with it. I mean, it doesn't matter what it is. Must I'll build a better relationship in our day to day. Watching him go down a slide in our little playground than I will by doing these big, huge things. I think that's something that a lot of people
yes,
miss. I don't have to. Yes, if I take him to a ball game, he'll love it. But he's not. If I take him to a ball game and we argue the whole time, I mean, what's the point? So
exactly, yeah,
I'm a firm believer in those little day-to-day interactions. Hey, buddy, how was your day at school? I mean, that
yeah.
goes so much farther than a ball game or a pony or anything like that. I think that's so important.
That's such a great point, and it's kind of funny that you brought up ball game. When I'm a huge baseball fan, I live
Okay.
like 15 minutes away from the Diamondbacks Stadium here in Phoenix. When my son was 8 months old, for some reason we thought it would be a good idea to take him. And I was reading all this stuff online, and it said like, "Oh yeah, I take my son all the time. He's only 4 months," and I was like, "Oh, you know what? We could do this." So we got him little baby earmuffs, and
Okay. Yeah.
you know we we planned accordingly. We brought everything he would possibly need, and I was like, "This is going to be a good time. We're going to take some great pictures." And we get to the Diamondbacks game, and they're singing the Star Spangled Banner, and he just starts crying. So yeah, and we try to calm him down. I just think it was too much for him.
Hmm.
So yeah, we were there for like a total of 30 minutes, and we just walked back to the truck and went home.
Yeah, man. We've definitely been involved in a couple where it takes longer to prep and plan and get there than you're
Oh
actually
yeah,
there. I mean,
yes,
they did a free concert on base the other day, and same thing. We took my 4-year-old, we took my 1 month old, and you're up there, and 10 minutes into it, it started. I mean, it started late for him. I mean, 8:30,
yeah,
9 o'clock or something like that. I mean, we got all situated, got him in the stroller, got my bag, my wife's got a bag. We're walking out there, dirt everywhere. 5 minutes into it, someone's like,
yep.
"Okay, I'm ready to go." So you got to keep them entertained. No, no, come on, look, I love this band. Isn't this great?
That's such a great lesson for like
Yeah,
new dads to really expect to plan longer than you're actually going to be at a place.
yeah.
That's so funny.
Yep. And then you can actually turn that into an experience in and of itself. Like as we were leaving, like, "Hey, buddy, I'll bet I can race you to the playground," and then you run
Yeah,
to the
yeah,
playground. And, okay, let's run back to mommy, and you run back to mommy, and you build that even you build your relationship even more just with that. I think that's awesome.
yeah. That's another great point. And actually, I wanted to talk about that a little too. Like, a lot of dads, like you were saying, like, you don't have to buy the pony, you don't have to do these extravagant things all the time. Like, you're at the end of the day, like, it may not seem like it, but your kid, he wants you to be invested,
Yeah.
and it doesn't matter how you do it. Like, sometimes I just pick up my son and I'm washing the dishes with one hand and I'm singing a song. Sometimes we just sit there on the couch and just I'm playing around with them, wrestling, and he's laughing. Like, it doesn't matter what you do. You don't always have to go to Disney. You don't have to set up little play dates with the neighbors' kids. It's just it's you actively being a dad rather than passively. And I think that's such like a great lesson, a great thing for new dads to really remember when they have kids.
Absolutely. 100% agree. I can remember
Yeah,
lessons. I can remember my dad being there as much as he could. My dad was also in the military, and him being there as much as he could be. I mean, that mattered more to me than than anything. All I wanted is, I just
Oh
want
yeah.
that there. That's it. That's all I wanted.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cool, man. Well, hey, I really appreciate you coming on. I want to give one last piece of advice. If you got anything, any last minute word of wisdom type of deal, maybe for maybe a premature child or anything like that, hit me with anything you got, man.
Um, let's see. One of the most beneficial things in the last year that I've learned as a dad is to really appreciate the small things, the little things in life, because this last year has flown by. Like
Yeah.
they always say, like, oh, they'll be 18 in the blink of an eye, and you're like, okay, yeah, but literally, like, this year has just gone so fast. My son was so tiny, 4 pounds, and I was like, wow, this is going to be really hard. It's going to last a long time. But today he's almost walking around, he's laughing, he's giggling, he's developed this personality that's unique, and it's just so amazing to see that transition. But at the same time, it makes you sad that it's gone so fast. He's not your little baby boy anymore. You can't hold him in one arm. And as a young dad who's only who only has one kid, who's only 1 year old, like, I know that it's gotta only get worse. That feeling of time just flying by only gets worse, from here. So, a piece of advice I would say to either expecting dads or young dads like me and you, treasure the little things, really appreciate, the moment. And yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah, man. I think that's perfect. I think you're right on. Like, I don't have nothing to add to that. That's so freaking, that's so awesome, dude. You hit that right on the head. It seems like my kid was, my boy just turned 4 a couple days ago. Man, like, I feel like it was just yesterday that I was holding him, and as I
Yeah.
was feeding him a bottle, like, man, that time just flies so quick.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
So
it really does.
cool. Well, hey, Luke, I really appreciate you being on the show. I love to, like, once the podcast gets going, I'd love to expand this, maybe talk a little longer, come up with,
Oh yeah. No,
much better.
thank you so much for this. Like, I'm telling you, I told my wife about this earlier in the week, and we were both so excited. And I've been looking forward to it all week. And it's been a great, conversation and a great experience. And I would love for you to have me back. And I checked out your website, Ferocious Fatherhood, and it's simply amazing. Like, I'm honestly kind of jealous of your website. But yeah, just thank you for having me.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
for those listening, you could check out www.dadsdiggingdeeper.com. I'm on pretty much all social media platforms. Instagram at Dad's Digging Deeper, TikTok, Facebook. I'm not fully grown into like a full-on organization yet, but I'm definitely working towards that goal. And I would love for you guys to follow me, engage with my content, and read what I got to say.
Yeah, man. Absolutely. Absolutely. I hope everyone on my page goes to yours. I love the fact that we can network like this. I think
Yeah,
you
no,
said
I love it.
you being down in Arizona, I'm right up the street up in Utah, but still, like,
Yeah,
earlier I was talking to someone in England, like, the fact that we can just do network this way, I think it's awesome. I love the fact that you're doing that, through your website, through your blog, and all that stuff, man. So keep that up. Definitely appreciate it, man.
yeah. Thank you so much. I truly appreciate you, and I think the whole fatherhood and parenting kind of what's the word community is really gonna start growing here soon.
Mhm.
And I feel like what you do and what you write about are very important to young dads. So just keep doing what you're doing. And again, just thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. And I forgot to mention this earlier, but happy belated birthday.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
All right, brother. Take care, man. Like I said, I'll get this link, all this information, this whole video recording out to you as soon as I can. All right, man.
Awesome. All right. Thank you very
All right,
much.
brother. Take care, man.
All right. Have a good day.
Yep, you too.